So we're going to talk about a new feature in 10.1.5 that allows you to store the configuration files for how SBM is set up in the database itself instead of just in the flat files. And one of the dialogues that you get right after you finish installing looks like this. And after you get this, you want to click the configure button, and this will drop us into the configurator itself. When the configurator opens, you're prompted with this this dialog here that basically says use this new feature and store the configuration settings in the database. If you don't want to use this feature and just continue using SBM like you always have, uncheck this box and hit OK, and that will just keep all the configuration files in the file system itself. The advantage of using the database is it's a lot easier if you have multiple SBM boxes set up with components on different boxes. If everything's in the database, the feature itself is really neat because you can, when you're done, you can click this button down here that says update from database on the different servers, as long as they're pointing to the same config database. And basically it pulls all the certificates, all the settings and everything onto the new box. So in the old days you had to export your config files and then import them onto the different component boxes. This way it's a lot easier. So anyway, this is we're going to use this new feature. Say OK. So one of the, I think, confusing screens in all of this is this one. When you have your database split up like I do here, I have a database for each of the different components. By default, the screen opens after you do your upgrade and everything, and it drops the new configuration settings down here, and it makes it look like you need to create a new SQL server or Oracle server or have it on a different computer altogether. The point of this video is to kind of try to illustrate the fact that you don't actually have to have another SQL server. So in this case, I want to keep all of these settings on this box. Simply drag this component up to this server. So my host is called WinSQL 2008 VM, and I've already created a database. You have to create a database ahead of time, but I've created a database called SBM config, and put in my credentials for it and test it, and then I would hit apply. So the point of the video is this screen is initially a little confusing when you first come in and your databases are already split apart. It wants to put it on it looks like it wants to put it on its own server. That's not the case. You can drag it up here and put it on this server. So another key point of this is when you install your another component, say on another computer, if all of these components here were already split apart, you would want to just point to the same configuration settings database. So in other words, each install doesn't have its own configuration settings database. They all point to the same configuration settings database. That way they all pull from the exact same point. You can read more about this new feature by clicking the help button up here, but the point of this video was to basically illustrate the fact that you don't need another database server, even though the screen comes up and shows it like you would. So anyway, that's the point of this, and hopefully that helps.